This is Mhairi's vlog, and today we have to carry on the conversation that was begun with Holster, or Holly, a few days ago about Tallulah Bankhead and the mystery that is Tallulah Bankhead and Tallulah Grace, which is an interesting conversation, one where people have been weighing in, and I feel I have to say my piece. Holly said hers, Mhairi's going to say mine. That's odd to talk of myself in third person, but anyway, I'm professional. You, the jury, the people can be the jury. There we go. You get the drift. So listen, now the thing is, I can't start the story without beginning where I began, which was at the beginning of the show. And that sounds profound. You might want to write that down, put that on a bumper sticker. I would buy it in a jiffy. Now the thing is, I have to start at the beginning, which happened when I had lunch with my good friend Gideon, and he suggested that I do my own show, which I didn't really know where to even begin for several months. And then I did begin in January, in an evening in January when I was cooking alone. And whenever I cook by myself, I speak out loud in French because, you know, keeps up my French. And I also dance around the kitchen. And I was doing that this one night and I thought, hang on a minute, this could be interesting. This could be a good departure for a character. And that's where I began with Tallulah. I began there and I started to improvise from that. It took several months of improvising just on my own. I would film it, you know, put my computer in the counter and film it, and then I sent it to 3 or 4 directors that I'd worked with around the world, and they gave me their notes. And then I, you know, created a mood board. I got styles of things that I liked. Basically, all this to say, I created the character from the inside out. I did not look from exterior sources to create this character, primarily because the school I went to in Paris, Jacques Lecoq, talks about your inner clown, and we all have one inner clown, essentially, you know, like Charlie Chaplin and the Tramp and whatnot. And so it's much more an investigation to the internal to see what naturally comes out that you can enhance and build upon to create your clown. And I was really aware that I wanted longevity with this character. I didn't know where the journey was going to go, but I needed something that was deep and that I could work with for a long time. So I didn't want something quick. So it took me several months of thinking about this. I read a lot of books. I reread my notes about clowning. I thought about my stand-up work. All this to say, my creation of the character Tallulah, also the name even, Tallulah Grace, I've had in my heart for about 15 years. It was always a name I was going to call my daughter. Because why not, darling? No better name than Tallulah Grace. Tallulah inspires chutzpah and adventure and va-va-voom. And Grace for me balances it. You know, it is a graceful, it has the other virtues and qualities that I admire, adhere to in a woman. So there is my story of it's completely came from me. Purely my own investigation. So when Holly gave me the book, Tallulah, Darling of the Gods, I was totally speechless because I couldn't, you know, I opened the inside cover and there were the words, darling, perching on a bathtub and drinking a glass of champagne, which, you know, are all the major things that Tallulah bangs on about, my Tallulah. And so it was really, really bizarre. I was almost a little freaked out, and I googled Tallulah Bankhead immediately, never had heard of her at all before, and sent some photographs of her to the stills photographer, Katie, that we work with, who immediately wrote back saying, wow, that's amazing, she photographs the same angles that you do, which was really odd to sort of find out. I watched bits of her on I Love Lucy, and her mannerisms, her voice. I mean, she was American, but she had quite a strong sort of British darling sort of voice that I do a little bit for Tallulah. So it was peculiar. I was a little, it took me a few days to even, or a couple of weeks even, to actually go any further in the book. I was almost too scared to read what I might read. And I did read some interesting things, like she calls herself Tallulah, Queen of the Radio. I called my character Tallulah calls herself Queen of Your Cuisine. Major things like I have low blood sugar and need to have food by my bed. And one such night I was not able to sleep, so I was eating a banana in bed and reading the book, reading the chapter, the bit that said Tallulah needed food around her bed so that she could sleep, so that when she woke up she could just eat. And she had her servant lay out, you know, pate and soup and things. I mean, you know, I've got almonds and chocolate, not quite yet the same league as that, but same situation. And the you know, I mean, like, I've been in LA 6 years, and the only thing I miss about Britain are my family and my friends, which I really miss dearly, and the Sunday newspapers, in particular The Observer. I mean, so much so that my mum, every time she comes to America, has to carry months of Observers that she saved for me. And Tallulah, although she lived in London for several years, but laterally lived in New York, she loved the British Sunday newspapers, in particular The Observer, and used to get it delivered. So that was odd. And then Sweet Bird of Youth, Tennessee Williams wrote that for her. And that was the role that I auditioned for to get into drama school, the monologue from the Sweet Bird of Youth. So they were seriously similar things. And also then I bought the autobiography. And obviously the dates don't match up, and there are major things, life situations don't match up, but the spirit of Tallulah matches up a lot with me. Like, her dad influenced her to go into theatre. He was an amazing storyteller and always wanted to be an actor. And my dad, the same thing, took me to acting classes when I was 7. And always been a massive supporter of theatre and doing it himself and things. So that was really weird. But the bizarrest thing, and I'm going to quote this from the book because I was reading this, you know, in the bath. You know, I read in the bath. And I was reading this, and I'm going to quote straight. This is from Tallulah's own, you know, this is what I'm quoting her. I don't go along with everything with which Polonius, I knew I was going to, with which Polonius belaboured Laertes in his blueprint for conduct. But when he said, this above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man. Well, if you've watched any of my past vlogs, you'll see that that's what my grandmother has always said to me. And that is the only quote in life I would hang my hat on. And to read that, Tallulah having the same quote in her heart, was just, you know, knocked me for 6. But, you know, there we are, darling. I mean, I'm all right with the mystery of it. I don't know what happened to the Bermuda Triangle or, you know, Martians. I don't know anything about outer space or the great creatures of the deep. And I'm okay with not knowing that. And for me, this is another mystery. I don't know what my connection is with Tallulah Bankhead. I know there is one somehow. But what I see is the same as what Holly sees. It is huge endorsement that we're on the right track. And I tell you, that is no mean feat, because creating a show and going and going and going without being assured of the results, we're cheerleading ourselves. And to have a cheerleader in Tallulah Bankhead with us, I tell you, I feel like I was thinking about it today, and I feel like she's like the North Star for us with the show. I feel like we're on a boat and she's guiding the way from it. And that's wonderful, and that's how I see it. Anyway, how do you see it? You, the people, the jury. What do you think of all this? What do you make of it? Let me know. Let's start the conversation.